Cross Ice Pass, episode 32. I'm your host, Coach Steve. Wow, what a final. I mean, it's unbelievable. In the last episode, we talked about a sweep, and boy, was I wrong. Connor McDavid, we got an awesomely memorable series with all the bells and whistles. Connor McDavid put his team on his back and brought them to that game 7. A lot of guys that I would not expect to come through in the playoffs and be as crucial as they were did. Evan Bouchard, pay that man. Possible records being broken. A team's first cup. A team trying to get back to their old glory. 2 teams so far from each other. And fans jumping all over the place because it seems terrible to cheer for a team that might lose. It was Game 7 was everything we expected it to be. The series was everything we expected it to be. And as a hockey fan, no one can say that these playoffs this season has not been anything but stellar. Lots of records were broken for viewership. A lot of people were plugged in to Game 7. So, all you can say is congrats to the Florida Panthers, who proved that you need to know how to lose before you know how to win. And I've mentioned it before on here. Congrats to Sasha Barkov for being the first Finnish captain to raise the cup. Congrats to Kyle Okposo and all the former Sabres, such as Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart, Brandon Montour, Evan Rodriguez, and Rasmus Asplund on being with a champion finally. Buffalo will hopefully get there someday. Congrats to Matty Tkachuk and the Tkachuk family on their first time their name is on the cup. Seeing Big Walt pick up the cup in the locker room was really amazing. Congrats to Big Bob on his first cup and extra cement to the Hall of Fame, to a Hall of Fame career. Congrats to Pittsburgh and Milwaukee native Bill Zito for building a true team cup champion. Florida is still partying 2 days later, 3 days later. As Matty Tkachuk said, he goes, yeah, we're not going to be sleeping for 3 days. So last congrats out of that is to one of the best we have ever seen on his Conn Smythe win. I truly believe that the last piece of the puzzle to Connor McDavid being a champion is in place. He was 1 win away from the cup, and I think we are going to see him elevate his game even more, even though I know that seems impossible. But when you saw his eyes in the handshake line, I don't think he wants that feeling again. And I think we're gonna see I don't know, a Megatron update of Connor McDavid next year. As usual, hockey players play through injury. We are hearing that McDavid had an abdominal injury that's going to require surgery. Leon Draisaitl had a broken rib and finger. Probably explains why Draisaitl just couldn't really get it in the net in this series. Now, if Ken Holland can come up with adding to their defense and goaltending in the offseason here, the Oilers are going to be a tough team to beat next year. And we still got the Stars in play. The Western Conference is getting better. The Eastern Conference we know is good. So just the development and the growth of the game this year really it was really nice to check out. This week, happy, surprising, not surprising, and pretty unusual. Right away after the cup was awarded, we already have front offices rumbling for this big weekend in hockey. Awards Thursday, draft on Friday and Saturday. Free agency comes into play on Monday. Tuesday, we are going to see who takes massive steps into their growth in all areas. It's always an exciting time as a fan. Hopefully, it's sometimes a sad time as a fan as well. The Detroit Red Wings, my team, already, trading Jake Wallman basically into the basement of the San Jose Sharks program for apparently something down the road, which is a little unique. But, and it's a little sad to see our gritty defensemen go. But we need space for some of these younger kids, and Steve Eisman's probably cooking up something. Massively happy for Detroit's Magic Man on his induction to the Hockey Hall of Fame. 2 Stanley Cups, 1 Gagarin Cup, 3 Selke trophies, 4 Lady Byng trophies, 953 NHL games played with 918 points, part of the Triple Gold Club, part of the NHL 100 Greatest Players. So many players have modeled themselves after all of those Datsukian stick handles, as well as the art of the takeaway. Everybody from even like Patrick Kane, who played against him a lot. But you talk to a lot of these great stick handlers, a lot of these young kids nowadays, like Zegras and stuff like that. These guys watch Pavel Datsyuk, and because he, as much as Connor McDavid is such a new and unique skater, Pavel Datsyuk was definitely a new and unique stick handler. We've never really seen anything like that. Also, let's talk about the rest of the class. Finally, USA, great Jeremy Roenick. He has been waiting for this call, and so happy he is in. We've got our first guys in the hall from the Predators and Shea Weber, and well-known GM David Pohl is the winningest general manager in NHL history with 1,533 regular season victories. Also, 2 great U.S. women, Natalie Darwitz and Chrissy Wendell-Paul, who were stars internationally as well as with the University of Minnesota. Lastly, Colin Campbell is being inducted as a builder with now over 25 years as the executive vice president for the NHL. Not everyone's going to be happy about Colin Campbell because he has made some decisions in the past that a lot of us were probably cringing about. This means still no Alexander Mogilny and many others that need a nod now. Henrik Zetterberg, Patrick Marleau, Pekka Rinne, which I think will probably be in next year. Another Predators great. Rick Nash, Cujo, Curtis Joseph, still not in the hall. Patrick Elias, and of course, the one name that I don't know if he's still available, but he should be, is Chris Osgood. And you can everyone can argue with me about that because Chris Osgood has 400 wins, and he's one of the only 400 win goaltenders that's not in the Hall of Fame, except for the ones I mentioned. Anyway, surprising. Arizona State Land Department has canceled the land auction in Phoenix. The Arizona Coyotes released a statement that they are exploring other legal options, which in turn created Alex Morello backing out of Coyotes ownership. This gives the NHL the name, logo, and rights back again. This means the chances of there being an NHL team returning to Arizona anytime soon isn't really going to happen. I feel really bad for the hockey community in Arizona. Even Austin Matthews said if the Coyotes weren't there, that it would have been he probably would have been playing baseball. So Arizona, still keep your hockey community thriving, building, growing, because as long as you do that, as long as the people of Arizona want a team and can show that by putting kids in youth programs, by getting minor league teams, college teams, getting this popularity rising, the NHL can't say no. So that's all I can say about that. Not surprising, the Hershey Bears repeated their Calder Cup championship over their same opponent from last year, the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Hershey Bears, definitely check out some of their posts on Instagram. They some of the players are pretty are pretty big characters. So it'll be fun to see their further celebration, and the Hershey Bears being Calder Cup champions in 2 years just goes to show you that um, the young talent is looking bright for the Washington Capitals. Unusual, the HR nightmare that is Corey Perry has again lost in a cup final, giving him 4 teams he has lost with within 5 years. I think it's time to hang him up, buddy. You did have a great career and you do have a cup ring, but at 39, not sure where he'll end up. He was scratched a lot with the Oilers. He did have that great goal off of that amazing, you know, McDavid sidelining through 5 guys. But that might have been his last goal, and I hope that he has the puck. The hockey coach, who's the designer, new Ducks and Kings brand updates are nice, but not massive changes. Man, they're really amping up the marketing of this. Especially the Ducks. The Ducks have changed their jerseys so much over the years. When you look in there, it's so much that when you look in their stadium, it's not like one color like it is for other teams that have a really popular jersey. I think they're smart for not going too far. But I think the Kings brand updates are a little more thoughtful than the Ducks, because I think the Ducks kind of just had to rejigger some color ways to with their famous logo. Now this season, we're gonna have to see if Fanatics will be starting with their new jerseys with the Kings and the Ducks, or I think that's going to be Adidas, or do we witness the Fanatics jerseys from the Winter Classic, the Stadium Series, or Four Nations? It'll be interesting to see how that goes, because usually an IIHF sanctioned event like the Four Nations Cup will have Nike jerseys. So we shall see. Today's interview, I have a really great guest. I found out the Willie O'Ree Awards. If you guys know or remember, episode 1, I had Jason McCrimmon, who my first episode was, of course, the last year's Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award for the states. When I found out about the 3 finalists for this year, I reached out to them, told them congratulations. The thing is that's great about social media sometimes is that they actually got back to me. And Kelsey McGuire and her organization, the Philadelphia Blind Hockey Organization, has been doing so much, and I got to kind of learn a lot about that sport, just because I wanted to know the nuances of it, wanted to know, the popularity of it, and it was such a great talk that I got to have with Kelsey, especially leading up to Thursday's NHL Awards, where we will find out who is the winner. She mentions to me that she's jumping on the plane to Vegas, so we will be voting for her. But before I move on to her, I do want to say that I will have all of the Philadelphia blind hockey and as much blind hockey information as I can. I'll put that down below so you can have it. But on that note, we can move right on to Kelsey McGuire. All right. So we've got a Pennsylvania native, attended Kutztown University, where she dual majored in special education for visual impairments and elementary education with a minor in psychology. Overachiever in school, obviously. Um, Began teaching at Overbrook School for Blind in January 2018. In 2021, she received her dual master's degree from Drexel in special education and applied behavior analysis. In 2019, she accompanied one of her students to an open skate with the Philadelphia Flyers, executive director and founder of Philadelphia Blind Hockey, and currently a finalist for the 2024 Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award. Welcome to Cross Ice Pass, Kelsey McGuire.
Thank you for having me.
Well, before we get into things, I kind of go in chronological order for the fact that I like to hear a little bit about your hockey life before this, as well
Okay.
as I always start with what is your fondest hockey memory, and that can be current, it could be way back, um, anything that comes to mind.
Okay. My fondest hockey moment probably would be like the Flyers Stanley Cup like playoff run, and I just remember my family, we went on a vacation like to trip to Disney World, and it was a game against the Penguins, and I remember like we went down to like the ESPN restaurant, and we like got to eat dinner and watch the game, and then I was able to stay with like some of my older cousins to watch the game, and I just remember like that cool environment, like being in a different state, but like seeing like all the Penguin fans, the Flyers fans there, just like being able to enjoy and like kind of like have that like going back and forth. And I just remember the bus ride home was crazy. And my cousins were like, all right, just get in and don't talk to anyone. And we're going out to our hotel. So like that was like probably one of the coolest like moments I really like remember like being in hockey. I grew up watching. I never have played a single day in my entire life, which I think like when people meet me, they're like, "You've never played hockey," and I'm like, "No." Um, my grandmom had season tickets to the Flyers and the Phantoms when they were in Philadelphia. So I always remember going to the Spectrum, getting picked up from like aftercare, doing my homework in the car, and then like going to the games. So I just always like have been a fan of the Flyers, and just being a fan like growing up.
Um, well, that's awesome to hear that you were kind of like connected to the Pennsylvania craziness.
Yeah.
So that's always a bonus, I'm sure, to start with. Um, and it gets me right to where I wanted to ask you, what was growing up in PA and in a Flyers household? Because the Flyers are fans that we know are passionate.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm very like honored that my family was all Flyers fans. Like, I remember like I had a Flyers jersey when I was a baby, and it was like so big on me. And like I used to like walk around and like thought that was like the coolest thing. And then like my mom is a huge Yager fan. So like she would always like cheer for him. So like seeing like how like the stories from like when she was growing up, and like she would wear a different like Yager jersey, but like she's still a Flyers fan. Philly is crazy, and I just remember being at one of the games where they said like Philadelphia is one of the toughest places to play. And like it was like all the hockey players like talking about it. And I was like, honestly, like I love that for Philadelphia. I think it just like defines like who the players are that like have gone through like the Broad Street Bullies, and now like hopefully this new era of the Flyers, like they really kind of like get back to that and kind of have more people enjoy hockey. I feel like there's kind of like a disconnect right now with like Philly and hockey. They're like Flyers, they don't really count. Like, but I hopefully like all the new players that are coming, like with the announcement of Mitchkov, like I'm hoping that like Philadelphia is getting more excited about hockey again, and it is a hockey town. Like, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's uh, it's a good Flyers town. The Flyers have run through some people I know. Like I have friends that are Penguins fans. I just realized I don't know why I did this. I put on a Patrick Kane jersey for some reason. That's probably not the best thing to do around Flyers fans. I apologize ahead of time. Um, but then also, the thing that's really wild to me is the fact that the Flyers players seem like they're so engrossed in the community. My recent episode, I got to talk to Doug Crossman, who went to two Stanley Cups with the Flyers in '85 and '87, and he still works at the alumni and everything. And he's like, it's unreal how great the alumni organization is. It's so great how all these guys are, and I'm sure in the long haul, your mom probably bought a Yager Flyer jersey when that was probably her happiest day, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, yeah. She always like talks about like she has like a Yager like peanut butter and like all those stuff. So yeah, she that's her favorite.
Very cool. Well, I want to kind of, because when I started kind of looking through your bio and doing a little research about the organization, um, the education thing definitely got in my mind. But I really wanted to ask before I hear about your education time. I'm kind of curious, what was the reasoning to kind of jumping into dual major, and why choosing these 2 to 3 majors that you ended up with?
Yeah, so when I went to Kutztown, I was just like a special education major. I knew I wanted to be in the education field from when I was little. I never really knew what subjects I wanted to teach. But high school, I was involved with like our special ed program at my high school, and I really was kind of like, this is my niche. Like this is really like what I want to do. So. I Kutztown is one of like the best like teaching schools in the state of Pennsylvania. So I was just enrolled as a special ed major there, and during my time, I had like one course. It was like my general like special ed like course, and a girl from the vision program. She was already in the vision program, and she came and she like talked about like what it is working with visual impairments, what's Braille like, and not to mention she had a guide dog. She was training a guide dog, so she had a little golden retriever puppy with her, so like it was just like cute. I was like, oh, I was like, wow. But like something she like really touched was she was like, you have a 99.9% job rate wherever you go. And I was like, that's like very interesting to like think about. And like it is like kind of like a big need in areas like you're always seeing like we need teachers of visual impaired to be in different areas. And so I literally called my mom like right after that class and was like, I think I want to change my major. um and it put me back a half a semester, but honestly it was like the best thing I've ever done like for my career and for my future. And I will never regret like switching because honestly it's led me to so many like cool opportunities I've got to do. So from there I was just at that time like the special ed program like for the vision you had to have a dual. So I was like I like the younger kids. I think I did at the time, and I worked at a summer camp, so I was like I deal with like little kids all the time, so like that was just like my thing that I wanted to do. And then I had like I just it was just kind of just like it was an extra thing. Like like I was like, oh, okay. um but being in the vision field, I knew that there are other behaviors along with the visual impairments, because like sometimes like those kids are losing their vision later in life. They're not necessarily born with the blindness. So that's why I kind of went back for my master's in the behavior field, and using that prior knowledge I had from the psychology minor I had. And then I always said to myself, like, if vision never works out, like I will go back to school for my special ed. So it kind of just like worked out that way that Drexel had that dual program that I was able just to like bang out the things I really wanted to get established and accomplished. So it was just an easy thing for me.
That's glad it was easy. Seems like a lot of that education probably wasn't so easy.
It's a lot of work for sure. But I mean, I wouldn't have changed it. And it's led me to such like great opportunities within
Well,
the
and
field.
I
So
mean, you mentioning that 99.9% job rate, that kind of makes me feel like there needs to be more people like yourself that kind of jump into that framework of working with visual impairments and working with kids. Because yeah, it's it's probably not people's first thing when they want to get into medicine or education for that matter, but it sounds like it needs people and needs a lot of help. And the thing that I love so much, Kelsey, about looking through all this stuff is that I started looking at kind of your intro, and I'm like, she graduated college at what year? And I'm like, and she's done this already, and I'm like, I mean, I'm 45. You're not even 30 yet, which is unbelievable. Congratulations for all you've done in such a
thank you.
short period. But I'm very curious about what kind of led. I'm thinking about this amazing to see what you've done since 2019. Um, what was that journey like once you found the right kid to take you to kind of walk in to kind of talk about that day of getting to meet because I know you're a Flyers fan. Not only you
Yeah.
get to meet Flyers players, but see how they responded, how the kids were, how this type of hockey was.
Yeah, so it's really cool. So it was like I guess like the gym teacher at the time was working with like her department, like head, and they were there was like kind of like talks of it. And I was like, oh my God, I want to go. And like everyone at my school knows, like I'm a huge hockey fan, huge baseball fan. So they were like, all right, well, they had to like see because they kind of like selected certain students to go. Um, and I teach multiple disabilities, so like not everyone could have had the opportunity because like some are in wheelchairs and stuff like that. So like logistically, like at that time, they kind of narrowed down to like one of my students to like go, and he had a 101 at that time. So I was like really bummed. I was like, well, if the 101 like gets to go, like that's so unfair. Like I still want to go. But they like got it approved that I could be his 101 for that day. So that was like really cool. And I like still have a relationship with my student and his mom. So it's like really cool that like because he was one of my very first students. So like we just like have a special bond. So like being able to have that day with him, for him to step out onto the ice for the very first time, um, I was like, wait, this is like kind of like the coolest thing ever. Like, because there's certain students from different programs that got to go. They had like a couple minutes, or not a couple minutes, like half hour to like 45 minutes, like on the ice on the other side at Voorhees. And this was like just teachers, volunteers that were there to help out. And at that point, I didn't really understand like why was this like a thing? Why was this happening? And I knew that there was a guy from the Washington D.C. team from blind hockey there, and kind of just as I was like, oh, like maybe he's just like helped, like not really kind of still on not understanding like blind hockey. And I was like, okay, like so just like hanging out with my student, like got him on the ice, like, and I was like, do you like it? And he said, yeah. And he can be nonverbal at sometimes, so like to have him like actually verbalize saying that he liked it, I was like, oh, like this is something like so cool. And then like seeing the other kids like they had fear in their like faces and like kind of their body language, but then like once they kind of like got used to it, like you could see the smiles that were happening and like the laughing like when someone fell because like they were in a like full equipment, so like it was like they weren't getting hurt. And then after that we were able to go over to the other side to Voorhees and got to see the end of the Flyers practice. And like there, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. Like they're really in front of me. Like this is really happening. And it was just cool because the players came over like either one or like two at a time over to the side and like got a student. And they just like were their buddies for the rest of the time. So it was like really cool to see like people that I see on TV, people that I look up to, like they're like being like gentle giants basically with our students and like with the population I work with on a daily basis. so that was like really cool to see, and like it's something that will always like be ingrained with me. And like when those pictures pop up on my time hop, I'm like, oh, this was like one of the best days ever. So it's just like cool to have that like that time and that moment, and like seeing the kids that were playing with the blind hockey puck and like kind of like understanding like what this day was actually supposed to be, trying to see if there was a need, trying to see if like there were students that would be interested in blind hockey. And my school was just lucky enough that they were picked to see, and like I was lucky enough to be one of those people that were just there. And then I like kind of got like what this day was like really about.
That's really awesome. I'm gonna put that to the fondest hockey memory as well.
Yeah, yeah, that
Um,
is one of them for sure.
is was there any players that kind of stood out and were really super ultra helpful and super sweet in the moment?
Oh yeah, I mean, like when I tell you, like, literally all of them were so nice. Um, so my student got to skate with Christian Folin and Sam Moran. Sam Moran, I'm like he's a like not that he's a bully, but like I always saw him fighting, and like he's huge in real life. Like I'm literally 5'2", and to see like how tall he was, and my student is taller than me, so I was like, oh my god, like he towers him. So it was just like cool to see that aspect. But like Claude Giroux was like skating around with one of the girls, and um, I just remember like Oscar Lindblom, Nolan Patrick, just to see like all of them like just like having fun. Like TK was racing with one of the students, and like he would be like, Miss Kelsey, you see how fast I went? Like I went so fast, I'm faster than him. And I'm like, oh my god, like do you even know who that is? Like come on, like so it was just cool like in that aspect, and like some of the students still like talk about like that day, and that's cool to like hear their memories, like that they remember some of the stuff that happened that day. So it's cool in that aspect. But I mean, literally, that whole entire like Flyers organization is just like so nice, and like just to see them be like real humans. Like they're not that hockey player with that total toughness, like they're focused all the time. Like they are very nice, and they were willing to help out, learn about the kids, learn about the different visual impairments and stuff like that. So
Well, that's so heartwarming to think about, and I can only imagine the thing that surprises me more than anything, because I know you had this moment and it was just like this big spark, but you brought this organization together, Philadelphia Blind Hockey, right at the height of the pandemic. And I'm definitely curious, what were the challenges that you were having kind of starting this program?
yeah, so the gym teacher at the time, she was like, "Hey, like I want you to be involved. Like, do you want to be involved?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Like whatever you need." So then like obviously the pandemic happened, and that like it just kind of just went crickets. Nothing really moved forward, nothing really ever happened during that time. And then unfortunately like the gym teacher, she left and got a new job, and then like it came when things like started like starting again, like you're back to normal, like she like reached out and she was like, hey, like they still want this to happen in Philadelphia. She's like, you're still there, like I know you're passionate about hockey, I know you're passionate about like being a teacher, like is this something that you would want to do and like be involved? And I was like, you know what, like absolutely, yeah, like if there's a need for it, then like obviously like I will try my best to like make this happen. So then it wasn't until like, and that was probably the beginning of the school year, and then I'm gonna say it was like the summer of 2021. I met with someone from USA Hockey, so Doris Donnelly. She was like head of disabled hockey at that point. She was like, hey, like I'm over in Voorhees, would like love to meet you, kind of like talk to you about like what we're really looking for the team. So like after I work extended school year, so I had work in the summer, and I like drove right from school over to go meet her. And there was a huge like sled camp, development camp going on. So then like that was like my like actually then like my second time like being around like disabled hockey and like seeing like the impact in the future of what disabled hockey really is about. So I like got to meet with her, and like she was kind of like, if you are ready for it, like I will support you. We just have to kind of get like things going, and I was like, yeah, sure, like absolutely. So she was like, just see if there's a need. So I did just like a Google form, put it on Facebook pages that I'm part of, put it on like social media, just saying like, hey, is there a need for it? We got like a really good turnout of people that have visual impairments in the Philadelphia like area. So she was like, all right. She was like, that's good to know. And then it was just like crickets again. And I was just like, all right, like, I mean, I'm ready whenever like they're ready. They give me like the green light to go. And it wasn't until like probably like January, February of like 2022 that they're like, hi, by the way, you're good to go. And I was like, oh, okay. And she set up a meeting like right away with like Brad Marsh, Rob Bear, Emily Springle, people from like Flyers, to like just like kind of like help start the conversation. Like, what is this program going to be like? What like can they help with? So they were able to like help secure ice time, because like when I tell you I have no background like playing hockey, I'm like I have no idea what I need, what these players need. So they were able to like get me
Must have
ice.
been a bit of a shock when you saw how much ice time costs.
Like, yes. Especially that like first like try hockey, because like we had no money, so like I had to pay for it like out of pocket, and I was like, this is a lot. I was like, hopefully like we'll get this money back, but I was like, this is like just crazy. But they were able to help, and like they volunteered at our very first like try hockey event, and then like got me connected with leveling the playing field for getting equipment. Um, so we have like donated equipment that like they have at different bins that they are partnered with. So it was able to like do that, and like we're not paying, like parents aren't paying out of pocket. And but like from there we had like good numbers, good turnout of like people that were interested, like kids versus adults. And like I literally offered it to anyone who has a visual impairment, just because like we're not discriminating, like, and I see these other teams that are in the US, and they're all adults though. So like that's what was like my kind of like one of my biggest struggles, and like talking to the other leaders of the different organizations, like everyone does everything so completely different. Like some teams are backed like 100% by their NHL team or their AHL team, and I was like, we are not. Like they're there to help support, but like we're not backed by them. So I was like, I need to find like a happy balance between all these other teams, like what they're doing to be able to have this team be like successful. And I just remember I created the the Philly blind hockey like Instagram page. And I remember people like from the blind hockey community at this point like had no idea Philadelphia was like even thinking about having a team. And I just like get these emails, and like people are messaging the account, and they're like, wait, like who are you? Like what is this? And like what is happening? And I was like, hi, like welcome. Philly Blind Hockey. We are here. We are new. We're ready to go. So it was kind of cool because kind of just like came up and like surprised people in the blind hockey community that we were a new team. I mean, like they heard, but they didn't really like hear things. But like we just kind of popped out of nowhere at that point. But then we had the try hockey events, and like people were like, we want this to be like a full season type situation. So we planned right away. Um, and then I was able to work with Maureen Thompson Siegel. Like, so she was our district disabled hockey rep at that time. And she was able to help me like get connected to getting like a nice time and kind of like get that figured out, because I was like, I don't even know where to start for location. Like these kids and like adults are coming from all over the Philadelphia area. So I'm like, I need something that's like kind of a mutual ground. But you were able to go to Lars Sims, which is a Snyder like rink. It's a Philly rec rink. And that was like nice for our first year. And we were able to just like, it's an Olympic size rink, first off. Like I didn't know there was like different size hockey rinks. So like that was like my first like overwhelming. I'm like, this rink is huge. Like, what is this? And I think it was very like overwhelming visually for our skaters. Like having a visual impairment, kind of being like on new, the bright lights, like when it's a big white space, for those who have low vision, it's kind of very hard for them to see what's happening. So we kind of just like let them like work like skating kind of just like on their own. They were partnered with like a coach or something. And luckily, then in January of that very first year, we were able to partner with the Flyers Cup. And they were sending high school volunteers. So the high school teams that participate in the Flyers Cup tournament, we had those guys as volunteers. And that was like a lifesaver. And then having those, like the Flyers Cup committee guys, like in the palm of my hand, basically, like teaching me what to do, how I like, I'm like, wow, like please teach me, help me, like, and like having those as like great resources like has been great because then like they were able to connect us to where we practice at now. And our players have grown so much in the short of like 2 years, and then our program has grown as well. So like it's very cool to see and like think about from like where we started to now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to announce that it's smooth sack summer, and it's upon us officially. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from pubes to bum. Thanks to our friends at MANSCAPED, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off your order and free shipping when you go to manscapes.com and use code THPN. I repeat, code THPN. Summertime and trimming is easy. Download the app now and use code THPN. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on hockey. That's code THPN. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. The thing I love so much about this, Kelsey, is that not only are you incredibly educated and you know this world a bit, you also didn't know hockey, that part of hockey at least, and you really grabbed the bull by the horns, whether it was ice time, equipment, funding, and it seems like that happened relatively quickly. And I think that probably is a huge testament to probably how you were probably very good at marketing the situation a bit for these young people that were that the cost of hockey is so expensive, ice time, equipment, training. So those three things together, and for you to bring this, now I know why. Don't get me wrong, I saw the video on the Willie O'Ree site and everything, and I'm like, wow, this is such a lovely story. But now I know now I know why you are very deserving of this finalist, being a finalist this year. It's really, really heartwarming. One thing I wanted to kind of ask you about, since I know you're now learning your way, and you're probably a hockey expert now, as to how to do everything about it. But what tell my listeners about kind of what are the differences. We know the main difference from blind hockey to regular hockey, but is there equipment differences? Is there timing differences? Is there I know for sled hockey, certain sled hockey players have a person that kind of helps them kind of move a bit easier than others. So I'm curious about how those things come into play for blind hockey.
Yeah, so for blind hockey, they wear all the same equipment, so helmet, shoulder pads, shorts, elbow pads, gloves, like all of that fun stuff. Um, so then it gets into like their visual impairments. So each visual impairment has like a certain like category. So whether they're low vision, whether they have complete blindness, but like when I like people like don't understand that like visual impairments and blindness like is literally a spectrum. So like not everyone sees black, not everyone has like central vision, like so like it all relates to what their visual impairment is and like how they can be on the ice to play the different positions. So when it comes down to playing, then like the referees have a beeper and like a whistle that like identifies like when the puck goes into play, and they know that they have to pass the puck at least one time before they can score. So people are probably like asking like, well, what's the puck? The puck is made out of metal. It's a lot bigger. It has 8 ball bearings in it, so it rattles. It does travel a lot slower across the ice than a rubber puck, but I mean, when you see these like adults play, like you would never know, like you would only know by the sound of it because the game is so like high intense, like yeah, there is sometimes like bumping into, like you can't be like checking people, you can't be starting fights, but like occasionally there will be sometimes because like you do have a visual impairment. Sometimes it's not easily recognized that like, oh, the shadow in front of me could be a person. But I got to like really witness like my first like full blind hockey game probably this past February. They had a thing in Jersey when the stadium series was happening, and just to like be around like those adults who play blind hockey, like for the different organizations across the US, like, and there was some from Canada, there was some from like overseas. Like it was just so cool to see like what the future is going to be like for Philly players because we do have the youngest team. So our players are 6 to 13. Like they're literally babies compared to these adults or like teenagers like that play. And I think like the big difference between like that the goalie, so the goalie has to be blindfolded, so they can't have any vision whatsoever. Um,
One question I
the
have
net,
about the goalie,
yeah,
because I'm kind of curious about the metal puck versus a rubber
yeah,
puck. How is
yeah.
it getting hit by a metal puck?
I so I mean, and it doesn't necessarily like get like airtime the puck, um, and when you hit it, like the sound it makes, like it's easy for them to like kind of like track it, and because the net is shorter, like being on their knees, like obviously they have a good, some of them who are tall have a good like height between like the top of the net and like where their shoulders are, so like they're able to like feel their body, kind of like figure out, but I mean they don't seem like it hurts.
Fair.
um yeah, I mean, I think they have really good echolation with like tracking the puck, like because you have to pass it at least one time to get it to even shoot, to have the opportunity to shoot. And there's like a beep for like to understand like, oh, there was a pass, like now they can score. And I think that kind of helps the goalies as well, like to prepare, like kind of like embrace like, okay, there might be a puck coming towards me. So I think that's kind of how we have one player who is starting to become goalie, which is like really exciting because like he's a character,
I saw him on
and
your video.
he's
I saw him on your video.
yeah,
He,
he's great. So he's actually going away this summer. So it's like he's our only player, but as a couple of the coaches, we're going to go up to Connecticut for like a player development. So, and we're lucky enough that there's going to be goalies, blind hockey goalies there that like will help him and like kind of like teach him the ropes. Because you should see us at I mean, when comes to like dressing, I'm like, do not tap me in. I have no idea what goes where, how to tie things. So when he was like decided like he wanted to play goalie, I was like, okay, like we have equipment, like I don't know what I need for sizing wise. And then like how to put the stuff on. I'm like, do not ask me because I have no idea. But like, I think that's just like a learning curve for him as like all our coaches, because all our coaches haven't ever played goalie as well. Trying to like the best to help him and become successful at that position. But I mean, other than that, there's really no other differences for hockey. I mean, it's played the same. It's still high intense. Um, but with the like little guys for our kids, like it's a slower game. But it's still the same
Right.
hockey game. Right.
One question I have regarding your coaches. So, what type of training does a coach have to do for this? Is there a USA Hockey certification on top of their USA Hockey certification? I'm curious, as a coach myself, kind of curious how it would be to get into something like this for a coach.
Yeah, so great question. So blind hockey doesn't have like a coaching certification, kind of like a manual yet. I mean, I know it is in the works. So our coaches have all like played before. Our head coach, like his son plays. So it's me and another coach who have the vision background where we help like adapt whatever the coaches have in mind for like the drills and how to like handle situations and kind of like help identify like what is best for these players with their visual impairments. But I know like that is something that like we have questioned about with USA Hockey, but I think like they're finally like seeing the growth of the sport, and hopefully like is able to work with some of like the leaders within the blind hockey community to make it successful and to have that like planning and training for those coaches. And because I'm like, well, what skills do we need like to have these players move on to go to like the next like level? Because like you for US, like they have it broken down into like a blue division, a red division, a white division. So all our players right now are in the blue division because they're new. They really haven't ever played a hockey game before. But I'm like, we have skaters now that are skating on their own. They're learning how to stop. Like, when is it that we're able to like get them out of that blue zone and move them up to the next zone? Like, and I feel like every answer is like completely different because when you talk to the different programs, like they're like, well, we've never had kids before. And I'm like,
Fun.
great, thank you. Like, thanks. Or like their players or adults who like they've played hockey growing up, like as a kid, not having a visual impairment, and then later in life have gotten a visual impairment. So like they already have that background in what they had before, and like now it's just like learning how to adapt to it. Like, so it's kind of like hard. I guess like that's like one of the biggest struggles with us, like, and how to help prepare our coaches to make sure they're teaching the kids the right way and stuff like that. But like right now, it's just like trial and error. Some of our coaches just went out to Minnesota and they got to see like another team's practice schedule and like how they run things and see like what can they take from their coaches to bring back to us. So that's why we're kind of hoping then like the coaches that are going to Connecticut can like see the other teams as well, just because like right now it's just kind of a guessing game. But like we Philly, like for us, like we have a manual that like we're working on and like the skills that they're doing and how to talk to the kids and like how to approach the situation, how to like demonstrate and like how to like make sure the visual clutter isn't like there's not too many people on the ice and stuff like that. So I mean, for us for Philly, it's something that we are working on, but for USA Hockey, like I know.
They need a nudge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think they're like finally seeing the growth of blind hockey, because blind hockey is huge in Canada. Um, they've been 10 plus years having blind hockey up there. And they have the kids, they have adults, they have huge tournaments, like stuff like that. But like when it comes to US, like I feel right now like all the teams are separate. Like it's not kind of like one big thing where I know like we are working on it. So like leaders from the different organizations have come together and like have talked about like what are the needs, what are like areas that need improvement on, and like how can we help communicate this with like other people and with like people with the USA Hockey, and like how to get our voices heard within the blind hockey community to make sure like they're aware and they're kind of understanding like this growth.
Yeah, and I wonder My biggest thing about and curiosity about this is frustration. As a coach who's coaching kids at all ages myself, when I'm frustrated, coaches get loud and kind of come after the kids a bit, you know? And for this, with kids with impairments and stuff, some of their frustrations are built around a very different, are coming from a different kind of track in a way. And for there not to be like some type of training to like, hey, you've got to deal with these kids a little differently when they seem frustrated. You can't just be like, let's just, we're putting the pucks away. Let's bag skate or something like that. Because those are terms that we use in regular hockey all the time, kind of as punishments for kids. And for this, I think any punishment would probably be, pushing things backwards, which is not what we want that to be at all.
Yeah, and like I am very lucky and very blessed with the coaches that I have. Um, I literally am like, I will be nowhere if it wasn't for them. Like, because they literally, like, they have a game plan. They're like, can you just help us, like, adapt or whatever? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, you tell me what you need from me as, like, having that background, and I will help you as best as I can. And we're, I think we work so well because we all have like kind of like the same goal that we just want the kids to have fun, but at the same time like we do want them to be learning skills and moving on and becoming like the new like the face of blind hockey, like grow like because the opportunity is there that like there could be the power sport of blind hockey, like they could have the opportunity to even become like a Paralympic, like stuff like that, just so like I think we are very knowledgeable and like we're very blessed that we all work well and we all have like that open communication with each other that like we're able to do that and like there is no frustration because like that just our kids know good, and that we just make sure like they leave happy and that they want to come back is like something like we just like strive for and that they leave with a smile on their face.
Yeah, which from the video that was on the Willie O'Ree site of the or the part of the NHL site, it looks like that's a big, a big driver is just making these kids have a really unbelievable experience. Have them do something that probably even their parents are probably like, I can't believe they can do that. Um, is really rewarding. And for the fact that I spoke with a coach in Michigan on one of my episodes about sled hockey and how his daughter is really about getting sled hockey for a women's team in the Paralympics. And I imagine this sport of blind hockey could have that, seeing the growth of it now.
Yeah, like there's a national like US team and like but you see them compete against Canada and like nothing like I'm telling you there's nothing wrong with like the US team and like how things are going. But I'm saying like Canada is so like developed that like they will like outshoot them so well. Like they'll win like 12-2. Like, it's just like stuff like that that like okay, like you see that like Canada like has this like growth and like there's a team in every province and like just stuff like that that like the growth of it for US. And I know like I think it was like Finland, like there was like a team starting like like overseas now and like I met a guy from England and I love people with accents, so like hearing like someone who has a British accent like play blind hockey, I'm like, oh my god, like this sport has potential to be like amazing. And I think it kind of like starts with like the growth of the kids and the development of the kids to be able to grow and to continue until like adulthood. And like for those who adults who lose their vision later on in life, I mean they can still have that opportunity to play. Like it's just like we got to find a happy balance to make sure that everyone is being successful in this area.
Yeah, no, it's the balance needs to happen for sure. I know one thing that's interesting is that talking about Canada, Mark DeMontis won the Willie O'Ree Award this year in Canada. Um, And I was thinking, man, don't get me wrong, all three finalists are deserving of winning this year, but how impactful it would be for you and your program to be the American version of that would be really amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And like being able to go to Vegas, and like I'm leaving this week for Vegas, so like it's really exciting to see like the different things that like I get to witness. And like this is my first time. Like people are like, "Are you excited? Like you get to go to the draft?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like I mean, I've watched it on TV. Like I don't know how it's gonna be in person. Like like just like stuff like that. And I'm lucky enough that like me and Mark like I followed him like on social media when I first started blind hockey, because I'm like, Canada is so established. Like, I want to be like you, like, like just like stuff like that. So then, like, when the nominations came out, who the finalists were, like, he reached out and he was like, oh my God, congratulations. And like, I should have like figured there was someone like in Canada for blind hockey, just because like the comments like I made like got told from like I wanted audio descriptions for the videos for our players, and especially in the field of visual impairments, like just the accessibility access. And they're like, we're going to do it for Canada too. And I'm like, why would they be doing it for Canada? Like, like just like a little thing. And then I was like, oh my God, it's Mark. And then like going like, we were like just like DMing on like social media, and now like we're like texting and like excited for just like to be able to have this like time. And but he was like, I was like, don't think like I'm not going to be picking your brain apart like while we're together, because like you are like you won, you're so established within the blind hockey community, like especially in Canada, like people know who you are. And I'm like, I will be picking your brain apart and like seeing what I can bring back to like Philly so we can make it better. Like, so it's just like cool that like to just connect with him like that, and like actually like meet him in person, and like being able to like meet the other finalists in person, and like celebrate everyone, because I mean like everyone is so deserving. Like Jerry, like he is great. Like he reached out, like he will comment on things. Like everyone's story is just so impactful, and especially like just knowing that like Canada has won. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I'm just excited just to even have like my name, my program being even tied to Willie O'Ree. So
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. My first episode when I first started this podcast, I was able to talk to Jason McCrimmon about his experience with it, and I mean, the fact that you get to go to Vegas, have some fun, get to meet some players, which is amazing. All these heroes, not only Flyers heroes, but others are going to be there. Um, the draft at the Sphere, I'm very jealous. It's going to be probably pretty cool. Pretty cool. Probably very cool. What am I talking about? Um, so yeah, it's Kelsey. It's been outstanding talking with you and learning about blind hockey, your organization in Philadelphia, all you've done under 30. Isn't there like a Forbes thing, or there's got to be some big thing like under 30, like that should be where you're at, because by the time I was 30 I was not doing and achieving these huge things that you have been able to do. And I'm sure, and looking at your site and seeing these kids, especially the photos you guys have of them, they're like so professional. Kids have huge, massive smiles on their face, and man, the best part about it, like you were mentioning with Willie O'Ree, um, the other finalists, is that this sport, everyone's got to be able to play it. It's costing itself out because of that at all levels, in all everything, and I'm really happy that there are people like you that make what this sport does a real joy to watch.
thank you so much.
Well, Kelsey, we're all going to be keeping an eye on you to see what the awards are like. Um, we know that you've done so much in the cross ice pass world. You've already in our mind won an award. So we will have this episode on before the awards happen next Friday. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
Thanks.
All right, Kelsey, take care. What a great chat that I had with Kelsey. We are hoping for you in the NHL awards ceremony. Out of all these three finalists, though, whoever wins is deserving. They all are really great, and I'd like to probably have the other finalists on the pod as well in the future. This is the big week, folks. Like I said already, Tuesday is gonna give us a lot. The draft is at the Sphere on Friday. And next week's episode, more than likely, we will have Steve Ives, my buddy, that is the draft prospect expert writer, and I want to talk to him about the first round again and which player is really a good fit for these teams. So next week's episode, we'll kind of go through that. And I've also got an NHL great coming on deck. So yeah, that's the end of the episode. Don't forget to subscribe, comment. Don't forget, I've got fondest hockey memory t-shirts, koozies. If you want one, DM me. I will definitely get it to you. But see you on the win for that crisp pass. Tape to tape, the perfect aim, setting you up to score. We'll see you soon. We'll see you in the next episode.
Cup.